Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Finally, for another podcast, Journey on the Fly. This is Adam Corman here. Tonight, I'm excited for our fall launch that we're recording with a high school fly fishing club. This is cool. Part of this is for me to learn, and we'll talk about that as I grow with these guys in our conversation. So stick with us. And if you got a kiddo in high school or you are a high school teacher of sorts, this might be exactly a little bit of inspiration you need to hear. All right. Thanks for joining me again, and let's get at it. So, first of all, thank all of you for taking some time out. I know, like I said, between school and schedules and this time of year, I know the teachers are trying to cram some things in so that, it's a little bit more of a relaxing time during the holiday seasons that are popping up. So, one of the biggest reasons, well, there's two big reasons that I wanted to have you guys on. So my podcast is really, the premise is incredibly simple because I'm a bit of a simple person. It is fly fishing in life. So as long as you have a pulse and you fly fish in some way, shape, or form, then you're on. But the two big reasons that I wanted to do this is that I always like to try to explore people and events and organizations kind of for personal reasons, and then everybody kind of vicariously as they listen to it has an opportunity to participate in that conversation as well. And I love the fact that you guys not only have a fly fishing club, but you're crazy active. And there's a gentleman, and Mr. Burks, and he's been wanting to do something like this for a while. He just applied for the, whatever it is, the PA grant, the 53 or whatever. I don't remember what it's called. And we're waiting to hear back. So part of this is he doesn't know I'm doing this, but it's an opportunity for him to kind of learn from you guys and get some insight from you. And the other reason is my passion is seeing new people come into this sport. And there is nothing better than seeing young people come into this sport because you guys help innovate it. You help carry it on. And it's a really cool thing of what you're doing here. So let's just kind of start at the beginning. Like, how did the club form? Like, what was the intentions and the things you had to overcome to get it to become something real?
So I guess to make a long story short, I had a class called Innovations class, and on Fridays we did something called 20% time, where I gave kids they could work on anything they wanted to. So whether they wanted to learn how to play a violin, or learn a video game, or learn to cook, or do a blog, they could do it. So anyhow, our founding member wanted to start a fly fishing club. And I said, absolutely. So he got approval by the principal, it got approved by the board, and that was 3 years ago, almost to this date. And that's kind of how we kind of got started. And when we got started, Bryce, you remember? Bryce is better. So Bryce is a junior. How many members did we have, like, right off the bat? Did we have, like, 10 or 12?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
10 signed up at first.
10 or 12. We had no equipment. We had no idea where we wanted to start. So we were really, when we talk about bottom ground, that's where we were at.
That's awesome. That's a huge amount of people to start because it's always difficult to get anybody on board with things. But man, which is, I appreciate that. Says a lot about the culture in which you guys all live out there. So that's good stuff because you saw it all as an important thing. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead, man.
I think like you said, I think just this area, we're very blessed.
Yeah.
Within 30 minutes, we have Muncie, we have Pine Creek, we have Loyalsock, a number of streams in Lycoming County. And, with that, we have adults who fly fish, willing to participate. And consequently, we also have kids who have fished a little bit as well.
Well, show of hands, who did not fly fish prior to this club being formed, and because of the club may have gotten into it, that's present here?
So before you joined the club, had you fly fished before? You did?
Everybody did? That's awesome. That's awesome. And congratulations on the parents that aren't here because they're probably a big part of that, huh? So let's move that. Let's make that question the next one. Starting on your left, and I apologize, I don't remember everybody's name. Maddie.
Shake your head.
Kind of give me your fly fishing story. Like, where did fly fishing come into your life, and why are you doing it, and why are you part of this club?
My aunt and my uncle are very into fly fishing, and they've even been in like a mini movie, climbing at Yellowstone and stuff.
Nice.
In the fly fishing magazine sometimes, and they really got me to like it. And then my dad started teaching me how to fly fish, and my brother taught me how to. Practically my whole family.
That's awesome. Wow. And anybody can go next. You can go just around the room to your left or right.
I started fly fishing 3 years ago, I think, when we went on vacation to Wyoming. My dad taught me how to. The lake out there.
That'll do it. It's beautiful country out there. At least I see from pictures.
It is.
Asher?
When I was in 6th grade, after there was a fishing derby behind Fail that the Consolidated Sportsman's Club puts on, and my dad and I would fish there a lot. And finally, we noticed that there would be a bunch of like brown trout that go and eat flies. So we brought a fly rod, and then we got some flies. And I caught my first trout on fly rod. It was a brown trout like that big.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
I'd say I started fly fishing by, me and my dad would go out and rod fishing mostly, and in the spring you watch the trout come up after dry flies. And eventually me and him we went and bought fly rods at the same time, and we both started fly fishing together.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I think I probably started when I was like 12. My dad used to fly fish like a lot, and I didn't really think much of it. I was just a big push button guy at the time. And I found this old fly rod in the attic, so I took it out, put line on it, no idea what I was doing. And I caught a 2-pound largemouth on my first cast, first ever fly rod.
That's good stuff. And hold on to those stories because they're important. They really are. They'll inspire other people, I guarantee you, because my story is not that exciting whatsoever. Now, you two aren't left out, so.
Go ahead, Gary.
All right, I guess I'll go ahead. So a little bit of it was I went to high school here, and we had a 4-strand landscaping class. It was 3 periods out of the day for a LICO CTC, and we would have a sub every now and then, and his last name's Boston. He's actually really big, and he translates, I believe it's Germany. He does for a German fly fisherman.
Wow.
So he translates it over into English for this guy, and he goes over there and shoots everything. And I can't remember his first name, but so he kind of like would come in and bring rods, and that kind of like sparked our interest. And then from spin fishing, like it seemed like it was getting pretty easy, Myself and a cousin and a couple buddies just started, and the rest is history. And then my son's in here, so I think he was probably 6 when we started him, and he's a nut now. So it keeps me pushing. But that's how, and Dave reached out and last year and said we need to do something, and here we are.
Cool. Oh, you want to hear from me?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I grew up in Lock Haven, and I didn't have the typical father-son relationship that you normally have, where you throw the ball out back, you go baseball. I had none of that. If I wanted to hang out with my dad, we went grouse hunting or we went fly fishing. So when I was like 8, I went fly fishing for the first time, and it was a feeder stream of Fishing Creek in Mill Hall. And I caught a brook trout. And I fished the same hole. I fished for this trout for probably, I bet it was like 2 hours. and I finally caught it. And I remember the fly. I remember the rod. It was one of those Royal Coachmans that people don't even fish with anymore. Hey, you're laughing. See, exactly. But I was hooked completely. So that's kind of how I got into it. But it's kind of funny that everybody here has somebody that they're related to or a very close friend that got us into this.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And this is really, about relationships. And the more we can build relationships, the more we can grow this club. The more we can grow this club, the more we can grow this sport.
And the more you grow those relationships.
Absolutely.
Like the community of fly fishing people is tremendously amazing. Like I came into the whole world of guiding thinking, and still do think, that I'm a nobody. And I've got, and I'm not going to mention their names on this, but I have some friends that if I mention their names, you'd be like, oh yeah. And I keep them very close to me because one of the most wonderful parts about it all is how kind and open and caring a lot of the other people were that were technically, my competition, and I was their competition. And really grateful for that community that is fly fishing, because there's a lot of care and concern there, and for each other, for the environment, for that matter. Which kind of brings the next question up. What are some of the things that you guys learn, both through the act of fly fishing and your club, that maybe weren't as important to you before? Maybe the club and this community kind of made you more aware of some of those things. Like, say, for instance, I'm just going to preface this right now for you and anybody who's going to listen to this recording. I'm not a tree hugger, but I consider myself a steward of what we have been given. So when I say environment, I don't want you to go roll your eyes and think I'm going to come through the television because, you dropped a fly in the water, or you shouldn't have, or something goofy. So what are some things that you have learned or maybe appreciate now that you didn't before, this community that you now belong to is in the fly fishing world? And just say something. You don't have to wait for your turn. I know how this works.
All right, I'll get us started. So from like paying attention and learning different things, I didn't realize how much erosion plays into stream life and health. Like the Muncie, there's a lot of flats, farmland, cattle, and just from the natural, rain and the erosion out of it, what it does and how fast the creek, changes because of that. And I guess you don't really pay attention to it like, the normal person until you start wondering, like, why isn't my waters as good as somebody else's waters? And then when you look into it,
And that's an interesting thing. So I'll piggyback on that with another question that maybe you'll spur something. Does anybody in the group know of a way we can get involved and do it like an actual project to stop erosion? Especially in farmlands. And it's a little difficult because farmlands is that's acres or dollars for a lot of our farmers. But
when I grew up in Lock Haven, there was I think it's the Lloyd, I forget the chapter in Lock Haven, but when I was in senior high, they planted willow trees along one of the feeder streams to prevent erosion, because cattle were pretty prevalent and really could widen the stream, and silt came in. But I know the saplings planted there can be a big part of it.
Yeah, those root systems, especially on sycamores or willows, are really super important for erosion control. And that's why I say that, because there's a lot of fly fishing clubs that adults belong to. And it's really difficult to get them out doing some things. And I don't know if you guys have done any actual stream improvement projects or something, but I would suggest considering some of those kinds of things, because getting your hands dirty with each other is a even better thing. Plus, you're going to create an environment that just continues to get better and better as a fishery. And I think we all need to do a little bit more of that, even if it's just coming up with the ideas. So there's a little food for thought. Anybody else, something you may appreciate now that you didn't before, getting out fly fishing more, being with your group here in the club?
I'd say catch and release.
Okay. Why?
Well, it seems in the fly fishing community, we all kind of promote that idea of catch and release, and I didn't quite understand that beforehand, but now I understand it a lot more, and I'm one of the biggest individuals now probably who are for it.
That's awesome. That, and if you fish any stock streams, that's just, there's not enough mayonnaise in the world for those fish to taste good to me. There just is. My wife and son love them, but I can't do it. No, that's awesome because it's a lot like archery, isn't it? I mean, if you practice, kind of quality deer management type of stuff, you let them go, they'll grow in the same respect. Those fish are going to reproduce. Hopefully these terrible drought conditions don't hold that back. I mean, the water temperature's there and the spawning ground is, but I don't know how they react to the very low clear water as long as it's been when it comes to spawning. Because, well, let me ask this as a question. What is your experience as of the last 3, almost 4 months of fishing some of these places with low clear water when it comes to fish? Harder? Easier? Where are you finding the fish?
I think it's easier
Okay.
because, like, at the one stream I fish, like, whenever, like, it'd be dry and stuff, and then a big rain would come in, then, like, all the bigger fish in the hole would, like, be feeding and stuff.
Okay.
That's when I just found me to wash downstream from the main hole and then caught it.
Okay. So you're playing the advantage that when that rain comes, those fish are moving around to certain spots. I like that. Anybody else? Is it easier? Go ahead.
It's harder. Like,
Okay.
when you're waiting,
Yeah?
you gotta be, like, way more stealthier. Like, you can't just, like, walk out to a hole and fish. Like, you gotta, like, move carefully. Not, not to, like, walk through, like, if you, like, see there's, like, mud or something, like, don't walk through that so, like, the water gets all dirty.
I love it. Paint your face camouflage with camouflage floaties and stay low in the water.
I know for salmon, you have to be, like, really careful. It's like, because I heard that, like, they can hear each step that you take, and, like, they just dart off. That's what my dad's friend told.
Do you know what that's called on a trout? So trout are a salmonoid, right? They're all part of the kind of the same family in that regard. What's that called on the trout that they can feel those vibrations? It's kind of their what do I call it? Their seismograph. Come on, this is for a lollipop. It's called their lateral line. And I actually discuss that with clients on the water because a lot of times brand new people to fly fishing, they just jump right in the water and make all kinds of noise, and then 3 hours go by and they wonder why we can't catch any fish. So my wife will tell you, she used to get yelled at by her dad all the time because she liked to talk. And he'd be like, "Shut up, you're scaring the fish." And even though that's not quite the case when you're talking, it is along the same lines as what you guys are talking about there. It's really, really important. So you said you caught did you say a 2-pound bass, a smallmouth on your first fly rod that you found in the attic?
Yeah.
So going with that kind of theme a little bit, what is your favorite fish to catch and why? Now, everybody has to answer this one.
You talk about on the fly rod or just fishing in general?
Oh, fly rod.
Fly rod, probably smallmouth.
Okay. Why?
Because especially at the river there, even the small ones fight hard.
Yeah.
They just constantly the whole time fight, the whole time. And especially like on a top water, sunset. That's great.
I like that description.
I'd say probably trout because they're so pretty
Okay.
and, like, they're really smart. And, like, when you're fishing for, like, one big fish, like when my dad and I go fishing, he always just fishes for just fish. Then I, like, if there's a big palomino in a hole, I just fish for this palomino and only this palomino. And he ends up out fishing me because I just try to catch this palomino.
I understand that in more ways than you will ever know. I had a group of guys out, and they were catching fish, and we came across this palomino, golden rainbow is technically what they're called, and I could not get these two people off of that fish for almost 2 hours. That's the fish they remembered at the end of our day together, and that left to them disappointed. Now, here's the funny part. I watched the fly go into that fish's mouth 2 times, and he never set the hook. But I understand that those banana fish, man, they just got our attention sometimes. Can't get away from them. Who else? Favorite fish and why?
I'm probably going to agree with Chase here. The smallmouth is a lot of fun. I used to be a big, only trout fisherman when I was fly fishing, but I got into the smallmouth fly fishing, and that is a lot of fun for the summer. When the trout, the water's too low and it's too warm, it's a lot of fun to go out and catch a smallmouth on the river and stuff.
I agree. They're the number one game fish in the country, and when you hook into one, you find out quickly why.
I wish you could use a fly rod for tournaments. Like I fish a lot of tournaments in the summer in the rivers and lakes and stuff, and that's one of the rules. You can't troll, you can't use live bait, you can't use fly rod.
That's interesting. Well, you know how you get over that. The same way you didn't have a fly fishing club before. You start your own tournament.
Yeah.
Seriously. You just had Helen, you had Helen in there, right? Like a week ago?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She kicked my butt in the last tournament I was with her, sticking mott flies. Oh, my gosh. Finally started tying them and using them just because that's how they kick my butt every single time in those tournaments. Who else? Come on, ladies. What's your favorite fish? Why?
I agree with Asher. I like the trout.
Okay.
They're really fun to catch.
We're not finished. There's 2 of you that haven't said anything.
I really like catching trout also.
Okay.
Near my cabin, there's a stream, and we catch lots of brook trout and brown trout in that. A lot of fun.
I gotta agree with Chase and Bryce on the smallmouth.
I love that. No, go ahead, bud.
But in a creek instead of a river.
Okay.
I think they fight better.
I don't think people fly fish enough for smallmouth, to be completely honest. Like adults, I worked in a store for a couple of years in a fly shop, and summer would come, like out here in western Pennsylvania, you get like 2, maybe 3 good weeks of trout fishing. I mean, I have a wild fishery 9/10 of a mile from my house, but it's like 1 of 2 in this whole region. And I rarely tell anybody where it's at without a bag over their head and spinning them in circles, and usually some chlorophyll and whatever to keep. But they're so much fun. So I'm glad to see that you guys. And take no offense when I say you're young, because believe me, you'll be one day hoping people call you young. But to see you guys young and excited, enthusiastic about fly fishing for smallmouth, that's pretty awesome. So back to club stuff. Of all the things you've done so far in the club, what are some of your favorite things? Is it the outings? Is it the fly tying? Is it the guest speakers?
I'd probably say last year when we did the stream pickup. That was fun.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Nice.
The last March, we did a little stream cleanup on Muncie here. Since it's our home stream, it's like, we can walk just a couple blocks away. We thought, well, we should adopt this and clean it up. So we chose 3 different sections and surprisingly, we got a couple kids brought pickup trucks. I didn't think we'd need it, but we needed it.
We filled a dumpster.
Yeah, we did fill a dumpster.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
It really is amazing what gets put into those things. Well, thanks for doing it, because I've never fished Muncie, but one day I'll probably be out that way to do some exploring. If this gets cut short, I'm going to restart it again so that we can kind of keep going, because it's given me like 7 more minutes but we'll also ask some more questions as we move along. I don't want to keep you all night either. Go ahead. What you were going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you said about fishing in Muncie. There's some guys out your way that I think I know who you're talking about when you said about not mentioning their names. They come and fish the Little Muncie every now and then. So, yeah, you might want to talk to them about that. There's some secrets in there.
Yeah, I'm grateful for some of the friendships I have. We just did so are you guys familiar with an organization called the Mayfly Project?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been working with them for a couple years now in West Virginia, and we finally started another one out this way of PA, but it's still up in Erie. And we just did it was a fundraiser for it. So we had all these crazy rich people out there that paid to come do this tournament for steelhead. And of course, there was the who's who of all kinds of fly fishing steelhead guides up there. And none of us did that good because it's just incredibly difficult fishing. But I say that to kind of say that there's a lot of opportunities to do more stuff through the fly fishing. Like there's so many things that fly fishing provides, from veterans to helping kids that literally have no parents or don't know their moms and dads and stuff, and just wrestle that haven't had the backgrounds that you all described to me, where mom and dad, aunts and uncles, grandpaps, whatever the case is, introduce you to this wonderful sport. Fly fishing in general. Why do you think you keep coming back to it? Why do you guys think you like it so much? I seen a smile there, like you have an answer.
When I go fly fishing at my neighbor's stream, it's just this little tiny stream, but like I don't care about catching like the trout or anything. Like I just want to catch just any fish. Like if I catch like a big trout, like yeah, I'll be like ecstatic. But like if I catch like a sunfish or a creek chub, I'm still excited. And I always post it on band.
Anybody else?
I'd say, honestly, to me, it feels like it's an art form almost. It feels like it's a whole nother level of fishing, you know? When you're getting up into those native brook trout streams and stuff with, you know, a little 7-foot fly rod, it's really enjoyable.
I'm going to have to agree with Bryce on that. Like, especially when season starts around late April. Me and a couple of my friends go up to the Loyal South when it's so cold out, but it's not super warm. And it's just a blast because you hammer them the whole time, constant.
I love that. Sometimes people grow out of those brookies way too fast. And they're one of those things that brings you back to your childhood. I caught my first one on a spinning rod when I was like 6 or 7 with my great-grandfather. And back, interesting enough, a tributary to Big Fishing Creek, Little Fishing Creek. And my son, about 3-4 years ago, I took him out there. They actually had the gate open. They close it now outside of hunting season. And it was pretty cool because he caught his first brookie like 50 feet where I caught mine, except he caught his on a dry. And man, you hear your parents, you hear people say things like, whoa, you just wait till you experience this, and you kind of roll your eyes. You'll understand it someday. Man, if it's your kiddo or if it's somebody you introduce to it, it is just such an overwhelming thing to be excited about somebody else getting a hold of this sport and figuring it out, because it is. It's art. It's beautiful. You said, one of you said something about, you mentioned the sunrise. Would you agree that fly fishing gives you opportunities to just kind of bask in wonder, like how beautiful everything is? Just almost takes your breath away. That's actually one of the things that I try to implement when I bring people out. I said, listen, I still do lunches, so I pack a lunch for people and we sit and we talk, because I don't want people getting so caught up in catching that fish or that trout or that particular fish, just being just so excited about it. Because I had a lady out a couple weeks ago and she caught 2 fall fish, and I'm telling you what, she was ecstatic. I mean, ecstatic that she caught those fish. So keep that youthful, the youthful joy in those brookies and all those kinds of things, man, and pass that on, please. Go ahead.
The term that you're saying, like, Joe Humphrey says, look up.
Yeah.
You know, you're constantly just staring at the water, but look up. But, you know, you'll see the eagle flying around, or the ducks, or the muskrat, or the beaver. Sometimes you might be like, whoa, I didn't realize you were that close. But, you know what I mean? Like, that stuck with me the first time I ever heard you say it, because you don't realize that. And I mean, you do, you know, you're concentrated on one thing, but it's a whole journey.
Absolutely. And that's trademark, by the way. That's my
trademark.
If you guys had some encouraging words, I'm going to keep you about another minute. If you guys had some encouraging words to say to some other kids and some other teachers at some other schools about starting the club, what would you say? Do it. Okay. Anything else?
Try something new.
Try something new. Love it.
Make more friends.
Make more friends. Do you make more friends through this group? Through the club?
Yeah.
Good. That's awesome. Well, before this kicks us off, instead of restarting it and taking more of your time, does anybody have anything they want to say before we peace out of here?
I've never even caught a brook trout on the fly rod yet. Like, the only place I really go, like, brook trout fishing is my cabin. It's like 45 minutes away. And where the two streams meet together, there's a big hole. There's a monster brook trout in there. It's so smart. Like, but it's like 11 inches. It's probably my biggest brook trout I've ever caught. It's a big one.
That's a trophy brookie in this state.
I've tried to catch him.
So 11-inch brookie. Anybody else, since we got a couple more minutes, anybody else got any other stories like that? Like that fish that you caught that you just remember really, like, it's going to stick with you forever?
Probably the first fish I caught on my fly rod. It wasn't very big. It was only like 5 inches long.
Was this this was in Wyoming?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it just is really cool because we weren't really catching anything. I think that was the only thing we caught that day.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember on Tuesday about 2 years ago. I think that's the best fishing day I've ever had. I think I caught about 70 trout.
You're welcome.
And yeah, thanks a lot. One day.
That was a good day.
That's a lot of fish.
There was 6. We took 6. I started it with him, and we'd all meet up. I'd cook breakfast, and we'd hole hop, you know, typical trout fishing. Most of them were spin fishing, but whatever, it's cool because it got them out on the water, you know. But I didn't think everybody was over 70 plus fish, and then the one kid was over 100, legit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
He's off the hook.
Yeah. So.
Wow, that's awesome.
Let's caught like 50 more fish.
Yeah.
I know that like over.
If I wasn't using barbless hooks, I probably would have caught like 80 or 90.
How about this? You guys, a couple of you mentioned you really appreciate catching smallmouth or anything on a dry fly. What are some of your favorite? Because there really is a lot of techniques in the world of fly fishing, and it's crazy. It's almost like somehow people figure out another way to catch them every 3 days sometimes, depending on who you talk to. But is there a favorite way that you guys enjoy pursuing these fish?
Euro nymphing.
Okay.
You got a tight line. That's it. No bobber fishing.
I usually just nymph. But when I caught my biggest trout on fly rod, I hooked him on woolly bugger like an hour earlier, and then saw he was getting dry flies, and I tied on a little dry fly and caught it.
Isn't that rewarding? To see that happen and put one on and go after that fish. Man. Now, I'm not going to ask you for your GPS coordinates, but you guys have some favorite streams?
Muncie.
Muncie, okay.
Probably Little Bear up by my cabin.
Okay, very cool.
Go ahead, Jim.
Little Soft Creek. Sure.
Okay. Up in the that doesn't exclusively run through the park, right? It goes elsewhere. Are you talking about up in the park? State forest.
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Down towards like Forksville out there.
As I hear the fish in there are the wild browns are pretty nice, but they're not the easiest in the world to catch.
They're awesome.
I caught a really big brown trout last year, I think.
Biggest brown I ever caught was salmon fishing 3 weeks ago.
Where were you salmon fishing 3 weeks ago?
18 Mile Creek.
Oh, you were up here in Erie. I say up here, I'm still an hour and a half away from it, but that's how us Pennsylvania people talk, right?
Yeah. It's a quick ride.
Yeah.
You look at your GPS, it's an hour and 40 minutes. Quick ride.
Oh, that's good stuff. Speaking of tight lining, Euro nymphing, and you had Helena in there the other day. Have any of you guys done any competitions in that world?
I'm gonna do one in March.
Okay. It's good stuff. And I'll tell you why I like it. So many other sports competitions, there's always something material to gain. Like there's usually a prize of some kind or even a status for that matter. And most of the people that I know compete are competing to push themselves and to learn from each other. Like nobody has any secrets on the stream when you're out there with those guys. And it's intimidating when you fish with some of these people that are well known, but once you fish with them a couple times, it's just they're just another person out there doing the same thing, and it's really cool how much you learn your deficiencies. As an example, I wasn't very good at managing time. I had this huge swath of stream, and I focused on where it was, as stupid as it was, where it was harder to fish. In the slow water, running a dry dropper, trying to catch fish on top and bottom. And I looked upstream and I had like 20 minutes left and there was 2 sets of like 100 riffles. And I'm like, why in the world did I not go up there? And I think I caught like 6 fish in like 2 minutes. And I'm like, if I would have spent my entire time up there, maybe I would have, came a little closer to beating her. But I love that because it's another opportunity for you to further that community of fly fishing. And it's kind of cool because I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of the fishing we do in the States in those competitions is some kind of nymph fishing. The wonderful part of it is this past year they started reintroducing dry fly fishing and some lake fishing, which is really good because you never want to have just one technique honed. You want to kind of always be looking around at some of those other things. So I didn't hear anybody say anything about streamer fishing. We don't have any meat huckers in there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I have friends, that's all they'll do. I love it. It's so funny. And
That's usually how I start out.
Okay. That's good stuff. That's my least area of confidence because I'm at that age where I become too stubborn and I go out and I know something's going to work or I just want to do something and I won't let anything change my mind. And it's kind of silly, but nevertheless.
No, I think you're right. You're busy. You get it. You got kids and stuff, and you just want to go catch a couple fish. You don't want to mess around trying something new.
Yep.
And I'm right there with you, but I'd rather go catch 5 and not play with something.
Yep. It's pretty unfortunate that I got to be silly sometimes like that, especially in the streams we have and some of the fish that you probably aren't going to catch them unless you throw something big at them. So give me some closing thoughts. You had a great story about that 11-inch brookie. I'm going to remember that for a really long time, by the way, because those brookie fish, they're just in some of the most beautiful places in this state. And we've got so much water. I don't remember the stats, but I know that Pennsylvania is close to the top state as far as the amount of fishable water goes. And when you come to central Pennsylvania, kind of that whole area from where you're at, up and down, really, there's a fish behind every rock, and I love it. So any closing remarks about the club or anything fly fishing related at all that you just really want to say? Even if it's another story about a fish, I don't care.
Haven't really got into fly fishing tournaments yet, but that's definitely something I'd like to get into. Because I'm into like the Bassmaster tournaments. I'm a club member of that. I'm like, last time I checked, this is over the summer, I'm like ranked 70th something in the state right now.
Oh, that's good. All right. Well, let's close with that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. I appreciate your time and your patience. I'm not the most eloquent interviewer. If we were sitting over, depending on your age, coffee or, decaffeinated tea, that terrible stuff, this is how the conversation would go, just getting to know you a little bit better about in the fly fishing world. So, and guys, thank you for creating this space for all these guys to get together and to enjoy the sport in each other.
Dave needs a big, he takes a round of applause. Like, he's the one that pushed it. His classroom's kind of half and half now, and it's a lot of responsibility, but he's the man now for the job. He doesn't have a choice.
That's awesome. That's good
It's all
stuff.
fun, man. Fun.
I may pass your email on to Mr. Burks for some advice if you're free and okay with that.
I'd be happy to share what we know. We don't know much, but you just throw some mud against the wall, and some of it sticks, and some of it doesn't.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, the school has a conservation club, and didn't have one of those in Pittsburgh or Penns Valley, and they have their own trout hatchery, but nobody fly. We have their own lake right beside the school. And nobody fly fishes, and I think he finally got fed up with it. So I helped him gather some stuff, and I'm like, when you get this going, you better call me to help.
Oh, right.
So I love it. I appreciate you guys. Keep it up. Keep spreading it around because it's good stuff. Okay?
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having us.
No,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome, man. You guys all have a great night, okay?
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, HHS Fly Fishing Club. What an awesome group of people. I'm so grateful that they're digging into the community of fly fishing. They're learning, they're growing, they're creating new relationships, they're deepening relationships with both the world outside, getting their hands dirty and cleaning up streams, to creating memories that they will never forget. That 11-inch brookie, that first 2-pound smallmouth from a fly rod he found sitting with dust on it. Moms, dads, aunts, and uncles, everybody listening that fly fishes, pass this sport on. I could go into statistic after statistic and study after study why this generation needs to be outside. But you already know it without the studies. Get them outside. Teach them how to enjoy everything that's been provided to us, that they can fill their time and their life up with wonder on the stream, together in community. Till the next time, this is Adam signing off with Journey on the Fly. Remember, it's not about the destination, it's the journey that makes us. Find us, share us. We're on iHeart, we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcast, I think Google Play still, YouTube, on the website, journeyonthefly.fish. Thank you guys. Have a good night. God bless.